Hello, hello, and welcome to Third Shot Rants with Howard and Gina. I'm Gina. Hi, Howard.
Hi, Gina.
We're two pickleball friends living in Chicago.
Gina, who are we talking to today?
Howard, today we have the DUPR CEO, Tito Machado, joining us. I am so excited.
Hi
Gina,
guys.
Tito, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I know everyone appreciates your willingness to be out front and kind of talk to people and take questions and so on. That's really fantastic. Let's start. I think everyone wants to talk about the reset. It's everyone around here is talking about it. People are doing it. It's very exciting. So I think we have questions about how it works, and also some people have questions about whether it makes sense or not. But let's maybe start with the basics. I think a lot of people are familiar with the basics, but if you can maybe just kind of run us through what the reset is, what the options are for people.
Yeah. So I think one of the main things that we were trying to accomplish here, guys, is listen a little bit to the feedback and solve for a couple issues. There were a couple of people concerned about, first of all, not wanting to play to protect the rating. So that's a big issue. Like people not playing because they're trying to protect or hold to the rating and so on. That's one. So we were starting to get a lot of stale people. So to be honest, one of the main reasons that we love this new reset is because we're gonna be getting a minimum of 8 games per player into the algorithm. So I think last time I was here, I also talked a little bit about where True North, the rating that we have on the back running, and how that's all gonna fit into that rating as well. So we're trying to get all of this updated rating, and like it's not usual for the majority of the population to get 8 games in 2 months or recency, right? So it was
Yep.
a good way for us to get new data and update that data. By the way, we did a trial that got leaked, like always, in Columbus, Ohio, and like the average number of games that players were getting was like 26, so way more than the 8 games, which is such great news for us. We were like, bingo, this is great. That's amazing data for us. But ultimately, the goal, we're hearing two things: people are scared to play, so because they don't want to touch the rating, and then we're hearing people that they feel like their rating should be higher than it is, and they feel like we're hurting them, and that we're hurting their ability to play on the 4-0 open play on a Friday at the club or at the park. So we're ruining their lives. So we said, you know what? Okay, let's offer a solution here. Let's make sure that people are able to. First of all, we can collect all of this data from these people. Second of all, they're able to play at no risk for 2 months and prove us wrong. I don't think in many cases, I'm gonna be honest, and I hope this doesn't stop people from doing it. But like in many cases, you're not gonna prove us wrong. But we wanted to give it as an option and available, and also for some people to take the fear and the anxiety away and be able to compete as many DUPR games as possible. Give us a data to know where they're at, and not be afraid of it and be able to play at no risk. Those are the main things. But in short, is you play a minimum of 8 games and two partners
Yep.
in a period of 2 months. Obviously, the more you play, the better. The more data, the more opportunities to prove where your rating is at.
Yeah, and we know a ton of people who are doing it. Gina just ran a session the other night that was just a DUPA session, but I think a lot of the people were doing the reset within that session. So people are eager to play. I think I think we'll have questions in terms of does it make sense in terms of the accuracy and so on. But in terms of a player, I think it's almost a no-brainer, right? Like it's not very much money. It's the cost of one or two open play sessions, and you get a risk-free shot at proving DUPA wrong. If you think my DUPA is wrong, you get a chance to actually prove it up by playing games and showing that. I
Yeah,
think it's fantastic. Yeah.
correct.
Um, a very basic question that I've heard people say is, and I think maybe you're in the process of remedying this, but people at the moment can't see what their DUPA is in terms of just the reset games. Right? So if you're doing the reset, if you look at your scoreboard, it's still showing what it would be as if you were just continuing on from before. And I can't see, okay, I'm doing the reset. How am I doing within the reset?
Yeah.
Is that
So
something that's in process?
yeah, it's in process. We're adding a little bit of the screen of how the rating is gonna transition. At the end of the day, the way it's calculated, guys, and this is why this is the first one. It's a little bit of it's gonna be developing and a little different, but the more we learn from it, but a lot of the games will be running a vacuum post reset is done, right? Because if you think about it, right, we're looking at all of these games. We want to make sure that these games are not affecting anyone that is not part of the reset. So we're collecting all of this data, and again, then we're gonna run all of these matches in the vacuum to be able to recalculate the rating. That's why it's the way it is. I think in the future, yes, we're gonna be included in the product. Honestly, this is a little bit of a test. We wanted to see if this is something, a product that people want. We don't even know if we're gonna do it again, or do we do it once a year, or do we do it twice a year. We don't know. We just wanted to see what was the interest. We want to see the results of it. We know what the results of the test was,
Yeah.
and I think and so it's going to be developing. But in general, right now, just because we just put this product together in the last couple of months, is we're going to capture this data, right? We're going to run it with the reset method, with that volatility and weight that we're going to be adding those games. We're going to run all of the games in that particular order, and then we're going to spit out that rating.
So will people be able to see what in real time, kind of what their
No,
reset
not in
DUPA
real time.
is? Okay.
During this period, and I think again the technology will catch up. You will gonna be able to see how many matches you've played. All of the different things. We're adding a screen that is gonna add a little bit of that. Just the change of your rating through the reset, no, that's not gonna be, because as I said before, those matches are kind of running a vacuum.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Another basic question I've heard is, what is how you treat it in terms of what your rating is coming into the reset. So let's say you're someone that's at let's say 3.0. Just take an example. You're 3.0 coming to the reset. You think you're better. When you start the reset, in terms of the expectations that are formed, in terms of what your expected score is, and so on, are you treated based on your incoming 3.0 duper, or are you treated like a completely new player to the system that might be, you might set them at 3.5 or something if someone was truly a completely new player in your duper system?
No, we do use the rating as an anchor. We use that as a baseline of where you start, and then as I said, right, we use that as a starting point, and then we add the volatility of the matches like you were a new user, and we add all of those games depending how you're playing and all of this different stuff, obviously. But your rating is the starter for us in this logic, because again, listen, if you are a 4.0 with 100 games, you might feel like your duper is off, but like there's a big, like that 4.0 has value, has data behind it. You know what I mean? So it's the starting point, and now go and prove us that you're competing at a higher level than the 4.0. But yeah, it's your anchor.
Yeah, that makes total sense. What about the reliability score? That's another question I've heard. What happens with the reliability score during the reset? So let's say you're someone who goes through reset, you get a higher duper during the reset. So you get, at the end of the reset period, you're going to get the higher rating that you earned during the reset. Is your reliability score going to be based just on the reset matches, or does your prior history, let's say you played a lot before the reset, does that factor into your reliability score somehow?
It does. It does. So if you get a higher rating, your reliability is gonna be at 100, because you had two partners, 8 games. We had enough data through the games and through the vacuum to be able to put you on that place. So yeah. So if we're gonna give you a new rating, if you're gonna gain that, you prove to us through the matches that you played that your rating is higher. Obviously, we're giving the stamp, right? Because listen, not everyone is gonna go up, and I think this is important. I don't want to
Right.
like make false illusions to people, because maybe people think this is I pay this and my duper is gonna go up. No, but this is kind of us certifying that, listen, you played, you actually proved to us through the data that we have that this is your rating, so you get the stamp of the 100% reliability.
I guess that seems a little bit odd. So, let's say you're someone, you were 3-5, you come in, you play great for 8, let's say you just play 8 games during the reset. You do the minimum and you do well, and you add a 4-0, a 4-2 during the reset. So you come out of the reset, you're going to get a 4-2 DUPR, but you only played 8 games to earn that 4-2. And if all you'd ever done was come into the system and play 8 games, I don't think you would have a 100% reliability score from those 8 games. But now, like, I get that you did well during the reset and you've earned a higher DUPR, but why do you get the benefit of that reliability score that's based on you're having a 3-5 before the reset? That
Yeah,
it seems so odd,
listen,
because if you see someone with a 100% reliability score, you think, oh, they're rock solid DUPR, but this person's DUPR is only based on those 8 reset games.
completely. But I think we're thinking about this. I think we're thinking about this in the way that the rating, the reset is calculated, guys, is a little more complex than saying that someone is a 3-0 and now you get the 8 games. We're still gonna look at the whole history. We're still looking at the matches. We're looking again. It's kind of like we're adding the volatility of the beginning, but we're also looking at the number of matches that you had in the past. Like there is a bunch of factors that is gonna come to this. So it's a little more complex than just kind of like Gina was a 3-0. This is 8 new games and so on. Is to be able to prove to us that your DUPR is higher, right? We're looking at the 8 games. We're looking at who you're playing against. We're looking at the partners that you're playing against, the 2 different partners. We're looking at your beginning. You're looking at your history, and then we're recalculating. I get what you're. And listen, honestly, this is a debate internally, right? To be completely honest, this is the first time, and we're kind of like having all of these conversations and learning through all of this. But at the same time, if you have to prove through the data and not all of the measures that we're giving you and your past and everything else that you're higher, right? It has to be a clear example to us that you're rating it, you're proving to be playing at a 4-2 level. We usually discuss, hey, maybe next time we do 10 games, 8 games, but the way we're gonna run this, guys, and this is also what we're charging. It's on a one-on-one basis, guys. This is not we're looking at everyone on an extremely meticulous way to be able to calculate this. That's also why we are charging, and that's why when I saw people online kind of saying, why is super charging, I'm like, oh my god, there's a lot of work that we're putting this. So Sarah, our data scientist, is gonna have a lot of work looking at all of this. But I just, the way I thought about it on this first round is like, if DUPR is actually allowing you to keep a higher rated, you know
Yeah.
that higher rating has to have some weight and some reliability behind. If you earn that, we need to give you that certification, that rating. Because if you're a 3-5, you prove to us through all of this formula that you are a 4-0 now, and then I give you a 0 reliability, what value does it really have? I just gave you your
But it,
ego boost,
but
so
it
we're
is
trying to. So it's more complex than just the way it's done. Yeah.
is let's say you get that 4.0 rating during the reset. Is that rating just based on the 8 games, or is it based on more than the 8 games? I guess I thought it was just based on the 8 games, but now I
It's
think you're maybe saying something different.
No, what I'm trying to say is that the 8, of course, the 8 games are the ratio and the volume that we're looking at, the volatility. But I'm saying it's not the only factor, guys. The way this is, to your point, we're trying to fairly assess if this player had a volatility issue, improving, which is not we had a lot of players who are coming and signing up, to be honest, with low reliabilities, for example. Which honestly, if you had low reliability, maybe you shouldn't be playing the reset. Maybe this shouldn't be for you.
Right.
Maybe it should be. But we have a lot of players signing up. We have a lot of players kind of like, they haven't played in a year and they were holding to the rating and so on. So the whole point here is that yes, of course, the eight you're proving through the 8 games what your DUPR is, but it's not the only factor, because at the end of the day, there are edge cases, right? If you have a whole history for matches on you in the past, we're looking at all of those matches, we're making the calculation, and we're allowing you to go to the right place. But again, there's a little more factors that are included in the reset than just this 8 games like a new player, because we do have some history of you. Now you compete you prove it. We see we see the trend of how you're playing. We see who you're playing against. We see who's carrying who. We see the score that you're getting on those games. And now we're saying, okay, great. So you competed like a 4-2. You competed like a 4-2, right? We had 3-5 and we had 100 games. And last week you played a tournament and you weren't competing like a 4-2. So maybe you're not a 4-2, maybe you're a 4-0, and we have all of those things added into the algorithm to be able to assess and make sure that you are at the right place.
Right. But I guess the thing that confuses me is if that history, you've got a long history, and let's say you are, I get that this may not be the typical example, but let's say you're a person who had 100 reliability score coming in. You've got this long history that documents that you were 3-5 according to the algorithm. And now you've got 8 games, and the rating, I think I'm hearing you say the reset rating is based on those 8 games, and you're at 4-0 because of those 8 games. Like, I get that you earn a 4-0 based on those 8 games, but that history wasn't showing you a 4-0. That history was showing you a 3-5. So why do you get both the rating from just the handful of games? I don't necessarily have a problem with you getting the rating, but then why do you get the high reliability score on top of that when that reliability score was based on this big history that I understand you have, but that history showed the player was a 3-5, not a 4-0. It seems to be mixing things in a way that seems a little bit odd.
Yeah, and listen, as I said before, I think there are a little more factors into the calculation of the new rating than just how you perform on those 8 games. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's not just, yes, you're based on those 8 games, but again, this whole goal is not to inflate people, and that's not what's going to happen. It's you have 8 games on a very short period of time with some recency, with different partners to show, but that doesn't mean, like, if you play like a 5-0 during those, if you're a 3-5 and you play like a 5-0 on that time, you might not be a 5-0. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, like, yes, that 5-0 performance for the 2 month is going to be considered, and we're going to look at all of this stuff, because again, we're not looking to gamify the system. We're not looking to get people the wrong idea that you can play and toy with DUPR. So the 100 games obviously do have a value in if you have 100% reliability and you've played the whole last year, and that has to have a little value because you have 100% reliability. And we're going to assess those matches with who you're playing, what are the scores, who is carrying who, the 2 different partners, to make sure that we're giving you a fair rating. That's why this is not gimmicky at all. And we're really serious about making this consideration. We just allow the movement for players that feel are a little more stuck. And honestly, in many cases, maybe the difference between a player is from a 4-1 to a 4-2. Those are the difference that we are seeing. We're not seeing, if you have 100% reliability as a 3-5, I'm sorry, you're not going to be a 5-0 after the reset. That's not how
right. No,
how it's calculated.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. But if you did play as a 5-0 for those 2 months, would you not get a 5-0 rating because you came in with a lower rating, or would I'm still not clear on whether your performance in the prior games affects you or not.
Yeah,
let's say you really did play as a 5-0 for 2 months. You, for whatever reason, would you get the 5-0 rating from the reset or not?
No. So what I'm saying is that the prior games do have value in the way that we're calculating things, guys. Right? Again, like someone that is a 3-5, 100% reliability doesn't start winning 5-0 games, right? So we're looking at all of your performance. We're looking at if you have 100% reliability. It's a factor that your 100% reliability is going to have on your reset game as well. Of course, there is improvement, but of course, as I said before, all of these different things and the performances are looked in a vacuum. That's why this is a little more complex than just saying, you start as a 3-0, you play 8 games, and you just keep the score after the 8 games. What I'm trying to say is, like, we're getting all of the data, the 3 games. What your reliability was coming in is an important factor when looking at this. How are you performing? How many games you have? How many of those partners? And we're assessing all of those things and seeing if all of the factors added, right, are proving us that, hey, maybe you were off, and we're running that through the algorithm, and then we're making the calculation, and we're putting true north involved in this, and we're looking at many different factors to analyze this scores to give you the right rating. Listen, we ran this on the beta that we did, right? And we saw
Uh-huh.
the
Yep.
results, and yeah, we saw some people going from a 4.0 to a 4.1, 4.0 to a 4.2. And we also saw some people going from, like a 4.0, and they were actually a 3.8. And we assess the history, and we assess what's the right spot, and run all of those numbers. And it's, again, it's a little, it's not, it's we're assessing every single person with the data, adding recency, adding volatility, adding reliability, adding these 8 games, adding who you're playing with. So the whole recalculation, it's some work that we're putting together. Hopefully we can, we're adding up, and we create a new product. We're gonna add that into the platform as well, so people can track, can follow, can do all of these different things. But as I said, the one thing, and maybe you're right, maybe the reliability is something that we should think a little deeper, right? And actually, my data scientist is like, maybe we shouldn't give 100% reliability. We're looking at all of those things. My whole thing is like, if I'm gonna change someone's rating, right, and we discuss this internally, the whole data has to prove to me that that person has a higher rating. And if that data is proving me that person is supposed to have a higher rating, I think I should give you the stamp that that's reliable, because I don't think there is, we're looking at all of these people individually through all of their matches, through everything that we're doing. So if it felt weird, and maybe you guys can give me this feedback right now. As I said, this is the first time that we're doing it. It felt a little weird to give someone a non-reliability while we're changing the rating. If I don't feel safe saying that Gina's rating is a 4.2, I'm not gonna give her a 4.2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
But I guess,
reliability is a
but
confidence level. It's a confidence metric for us. That's what it truly
right.
is.
But here's the thing: if you had a new player, like someone who was just truly not the reset, but someone was just truly new to DUPR, they played 8 games, you would give them a rating no matter what. You come up with a rating,
Yeah.
and they would have a not a tiny, but they would have not a 100, certainly not 100% reliability score. But you look at those 8 games, you'd say, here's how they performed in those 8 games. Maybe they performed 4.0 or 4.2, and whatever 8 games gets you, I don't know whether it's 20% or 40% reliability, something like that. And that's your best assessment of that player based on just those 8 games. It seems weird when you are, I think, either completely or primarily tossing out their prior history before the reset in terms of using those games for their rating. You're just using the reset games for the rating. Why they then get the benefit of the reliability score that got them a different rating, not the rating they got during the reset.
Yeah. So if you think about reliability, right? And the main thing that we're looking at reliability, guys, is the matches, the recency, which we really have with these matches, and the number of opponents and who you're playing against, right? So through these 8 weeks, recency is a factor, right? Your history is gonna be a factor as well when measuring. As I said, this is not someone coming in. And again, all of these people will be measured through their history as well. It's going to be different for someone that is signing up for Reset, and they have 2 games on DUPR. Again, maybe the person shouldn't be signing up for Reset, but they have 2 games on DUPR and they're signing up for Reset. That person, yes, that we're learning way more through those 8 games from that person that with 2 different partners than we have from other people. But your history is gonna have, if you have 150 games that you're playing. What I'm trying to say is that, yes, that's gonna influence. It's gonna influence the game, because we cannot throw out 150 games of data for someone, and give them a new rating only on those 8 games and 2 different partners. We cannot do that because at the end of the day, right? That's again, it gets a little too gimmicky when it comes to giving
Right.
someone a new number. So not let's just say that not everyone is measured equal on the reset, depending on the history and the reliability that you have. And every case is going to be looked at as well on how reliable is your partner, how reliable is the other players that you're playing against, how much data we're getting from those games. Like, listen, if I if I am a 4-0 and I play, for example, I'm going to put you an example why this is super important, okay? We know that people are going to think that if they sign up for a 5-0 tournament who is a 5-0 partner, being a 4-0 player, right? The fact that they're going to be carried or played in the tournament, right? There's people that the logic there, maybe I shouldn't say this because people are going to try to do this, but it doesn't matter because we're going to look at this, right? But that logic of like, hey, I'm starting a 0 reliability, playing with a 5-0 on a 5-0 tournament. We're gonna get some points. I'm gonna be able to inflate my reset to be able to get a higher rating than I'm supposed to. Again, that's why we're being so careful with this. We understood that the way that this is measured has to be way deeper and way more in a vacuum and way more with the data and way more with who you're playing against, what the score was. So this is why this whole process is kind of like, it's way more profound than just you start with 0 reliability and you play 8 games, and if you get a higher number, you keep it, right? Just because it's not fair, and this cannot be a pay to get a higher DUPR. That's not how it works.
Right. So are you saying that two people who perform the exact same during the reset period, they will end up with a different rating depending on their prior history coming into the reset?
Yeah, and listen, no one performs the same, right? No one really performs the
Right.
same. It's just impossible. It's not, no one plays the same game of pickleball in the same way, hits the same thing, hits the same shot at the same time. Like, so they're performing the same.
I guess I'm just trying to understand how does the prior match history affect your rating, your reset rating? I really thought it was just the games you play during the reset that affects your reset rating. Is that
Yeah.
not right?
No, it's not right. As I said, yes, we're looking at those 8 games in a vacuum, but again, all of this, everyone that we're running, guys, we're studying them, right? As I said, it's not of course it's gonna count, but as I said, like it's very important to us to have a very um and this is why, honestly, this is why we're charging, guys. This is what we're charging. This is what, because like the way that we're running this is like, honestly, we're looking at every single person individually, looking at the data, looking at the matches, looking at all of the looking at every single player and stuff like that. Of course these 8 games are important, but again, the whole being able to play certain things that are to be able to manipulate this process, or to be able to play up, or choose the right partners to make sure I get the right player and so on. Of course we need to count your history there, right? Because we need to look at the answer, as I said before. What data do we have from you? Where, who are you? How many games have you played? How are you performing? To be able to, after the 8 games, actually have a realization of like, oh my god, Gina is actually she's an actual 4-2. She has proved to us, because with the data that we have, and now this new, with more volatility and adding these matches and adding this new weight and this recency and all of the stuff, she's playing like a 4-2. So she, instead of a 4-1, we're gonna give her the 4-2. But no one in a realistic, again, I don't know if I'm being smart saying this or not, but like, no one, unless you have 0 reliability coming in, no one is going to go from a 4-0 to a 5-0.
This is super interesting, Tito. I gotta say, as a coach, I was excited when I saw this leaked on Reddit, just kind of knowing that this might be coming. Because so many people think, almost everyone thinks they're underrated. Hardly anyone thinks they're overrated or rated correctly. And so it does sound like this process is gonna, I don't know, like at least give these people an opportunity, right? To like, hey, maybe I started DUPR too early. I get maybe another chance or so. So that's a really good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Just because, yeah, some of these DUPRs are getting really stale, and it's like forcing everyone, not forcing, but encouraging everyone to get a lot of games. And like you said, people are getting like 26 games in this period. Yeah, that's a lot of great data. And I think the price point is good too, because like it's going to be a lot of admin work, but the bar to like get in is quite low still. Like it's quite reasonable. So it's a fun opportunity. Definitely getting lots of questions, but I'm really enjoying this conversation.
My goal is to get people to play more games, honestly, and I think even in the future, because again, we wanted at the beginning, we wanted to do 20 games, right? And I think the 20 games, to Edward's point, maybe it was a better chance for us to not use your past history and just use the 20 games and do more of a reset. But again, 20, 8 games for a lot of people in such a short period of time, it's tough, So that's the other thing. We want to make sure that organizers have events to participate. They have enough events for people to play and kind of offer those games and so on. So this is gonna evolve, guys. This is V1 of the reset. This is kind of the first version. We are hoping to learn a lot from this and then add other opportunities. We want to listen. We want to make people. We want people to feel very. We want people to be happy about their DUPR and not feel stuck and not feel like they're hold back. And I think it's a big issue for us, guys. I mean, you probably live this. Is people I had a podcast actually 2 days ago, and we were talking about this. The Real Housewives of Pickleball. We were talking about this, and they asked me, "Well, but like I'm not able to go up, right?" And I asked her, like, "But do you think your rating is accurate?" And she said, like, "Well, yeah. Do you think the people's rating around you is accurate when they're 100% reliable?" They're like, yeah. So your friends' ratings. You're kind of like, yeah, that person is a 4.0. And honestly, yeah, we might be off by 0.1, 4.1, or whatever, but more or less, guys, you tell me. You look at people and you know, yeah, that person is a 4.0 and they have 50%. They will have 50% of wins against 4.1s and 50% losses against 4.9s. So it makes sense. The average of the score makes sense. So people feel like DUPR is more accurate than they actually say. What frustrates people is the fact that they cannot go up more, right? The fact that they cannot go up to a 4.5. That's where the frustration comes. Most people don't feel like it's inaccurate. They just feel like, well, how can I get it to 4.5? How can I get to that place? Because people see it more as a reward system, as a game that you're trying to pass, right? Like that's a human thing. I mean, listen, if I have an 80% on a test in college, right? I want to get a 90 next time. And next time I want to have 95. And next time I want to have 100, because that's our nature. We want to do better each time. Now, it's DUPR's job to reward you, or is DUPR's job to show an accurate number with the data that we have? And I think that's where the confusion is. So that's why we added the reset, to give people a way to go compete, go get more data, more games. Again, it's V1. We're going to be adding different versions. We're going to be learning from this one, the data, so on. But in the as I said, the great thing here is that if someone feels that they're stuck from a tournament in 2023, honestly, probably not stuck from a tournament in 2023. I'm sorry, probably not true. But we're able to look at you in a personalized way, and look at you with a fresh pair of data, recent, with different partners, and then look at who you are and make an assessment through the algorithm to give you a new positioning if you prove to us that you're a higher rating.
Yeah, I do think it's a great opportunity for people who feel like this. There are people who feel like they're stuck, and I think we agree with you that most people's DUPRs are really pretty accurate. But every once in a while, you see someone that does seem maybe a tiny bit off, and maybe they get stuck in, because they have a lower DUPR, they can't play in a higher group, and maybe the DUPR sessions they're playing in are a little bit odd because they're the better player, and maybe no one hits to them, and it's kind of a weird game. So I do think it's great for people to have a chance to do that. But I just want to add some of the things that we've been hearing from people about kind of concerns about it.
Yeah, yeah.
One
Listen,
other very high level thing, I think. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, no. I was gonna say no.
One of the
Listen.
very
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
one sort of very high level thing that I think I've heard is the idea of the reset and getting a fresh start. It kind of seems to make sense, but it also kind of seems to go against what you and DUPR have been preaching in the past, that you really care about as much data as possible, that every I think I've heard you say that every match is important, every match is providing valuable information to you. And if you believe that, and I think Gina and I both tend to think that's right, that you want to use all the information that you have, why you would have a system that will kind of allow people to throw out their match history, because if you really are better than you think your DUPR is, you can prove it by going out and beating the people that you think you should beat. And so why have a system that's throwing out all of this data that you've kind of told us in the past is really, really valuable?
Yeah, and as I said before, Howard, we don't throw it out, and True North is always there and looking as well, and we will be adding True North in some way or form back into the algorithm. And the reality, guys, is that we don't have we don't have that many people with a game in the last 2 months. We have a lot of matches from tournaments, and people play that one tournament a year, and some people are more reliable. But we have a problem that we're trying to solve, that is people trying to protect their DUPR and holding off and being still on their DUPR, and people care so much about it that it has done a little bit of the opposite effect, Howard. So yes, I listen, this is us collecting a lot of recent data from a lot of players play more events. So for me, honestly, one of the main reasons I wanted to get the reset going as well is because I have so many freaking directors and organizers like yourself, guys, calling me and telling me like, if I people are not signing up because they're scared of their DUPR going down. So I got that situation a bunch of times, and I'm like, guys, this shouldn't be a problem. This shouldn't be something that we're worrying about. So we need to add more tools. We need to add solutions. We need to get people, give them enough things, guys, to reactivate. And we want data. We want matches. We want players playing. We just added career high, for example. This is a big thing that we just added that I'm very excited about. That's gonna come here in the next week. Why do I want to add career high? Because I had a lot of people that were a 4-1, right? Maybe they had a little bit of a bad couple of months. They were injured. They went to a 3-9, and now they're not allowed to play on the 4-0 group, right? So these people, I'm ruining their lives. And honestly, it sounds crazy and dramatic, but I'm really hurting them. And I get that. And they reach out to us in extreme frustration, Howard, right? So we're trying to balance a little bit. Like, of course, like the more data, the more you're playing, the more recency, guys. Of course, it's the best thing for DUPR, and this is the most accurate DUPR. And at the same time, we have a lot of players that don't have access to DUPR matches, to DUPR games. They want to not lose their status on the open play. So we're trying to honestly balance a little bit, Howard, the coaching to the people so they understand what's happening, opportunities, and not let it be a negative in their lives. So yeah, listen, I can be a purist, which I have always been in every sense, and say, guys, just play more matches, put everything on DUPR, get everything that we have. That's the perfect world that I get. If I get every match, the reality is that we're leaving a lot of matches not going on DUPR because people are afraid of it. So I need to meet halfway and give people a little less anxiety about it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think, and I don't think either of us have any problem with. I've heard people complain about like this is
Yeah.
like a cash grab or something, but that seems to me that seems totally fine. You're a business, you're entitled to make money, and you're trying to do things that get people playing DUPR games. I think that's great. I think just the concerns a little bit on that reliability score issue we talked about, that seems a little bit odd. And the other is just on are you inflating score by having a reset where people's scores can only go up? Like, why not have a reset where, sure, if you don't think you're right, you get a fresh opportunity to start over, but you bear the cost of either going up or down. Like, you get a fresh start. We look at your history during this 2 month period, but if you go down, you go down. If you go up, you go up. But this way, if you can only go up, are you potentially inflating dupas or giving people, some people are going to go up just because of chance. Maybe not a huge amount, but some. So, half the people will be around even or slightly higher than going in, even if the dupas were correct, just based on some chance. And are you inflating things by only taking the upside and not making people bear the risk of some downside?
Yeah, no. The answer is we haven't been seeing that on the data, because honestly, most people end up falling kind of on the same place or even below. I think one of the most things that people are doing, actually, a lot of the couple of people, what we're seeing as well, they haven't played, they were holding, they weren't playing duper games, so they're using this for a chance to play at no risk now. And I think they're gonna have a those people, if their reset was lower, they don't have to keep that reset, but they're obviously not gonna have any reliability, right? And that's in those cases, they're not gonna have reliability to that. They're gonna keep the reliability that they had prior to the reset, if that makes sense, because they haven't been playing. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we looked the way that we were studying this, and I was telling this to Gina, right? It's like we're looking at the number of matches that made sense to avoid inflation and the different partners and the different participants, and we estimated that the recency of the 2 month. There obviously, listen, if we have a case, right, where everyone goes out there and overperforms for the next 2 months, is there a potential of creating a slight, a little bit of inflation? It will auto correct itself, to be honest with you, and that's why we have those measurements that we have, and looking at putting the games in a vacuum. We don't think it's going to be something that is going to be meaningful for us and worrisome for us, to be honest.
Yeah, that makes
Again, at the
sense.
same
Are
time,
Yeah.
you?
Howard, I think one of the important things to know is we give this opportunity, like you said, the positives here. I hope that I don't get a lot of people upset once if they do the reset and didn't move that much, because there was a little more delusion than actual them being better. And that's honestly something that I think is going to happen a little more, right? Some cases people are going to prove us wrong, and they're going to, but in general, people are going to show their true colors, their true skill, and that's the reality. Because as I said before, people can say whatever, but I think the numbers, once we get some numbers, are pretty accurate. So it's gonna get you similar to that place. And again, there is a lot of people that do think that they had a tournament from 2023 that they played with the wrong partner, and it's holding them back, and and that's the reason why they're not beating Ben Jones right now on the PPA tour. So
Yeah, Gina gets people telling her that all the time, because she
All
she
the
gets.
time. It's tough. I'm excited for this reset opportunity, because I think, like we've been touching on, is that, so let's say your duper goes up even just a little bit. It's going to be where it's supposed to be after a certain amount of matches. Like, I just don't see, like, if we're all using the same scale, I don't know. It just seems fair and right. It's tough to kind of, for everyone to kind of feel like they're a victim here. But I'm wondering too if this is kind of part of pickleball's, like, maybe there's an overarching problem of it, people getting like too clicky, or things you're seeing about that. Like, I don't know if this is kind of related. Like, because yeah, people are really protecting their dupers, and it's because they want to be in this select group or something like that. And
so
it's this tough evolution the sport's facing.
we have a big problem with that, guys, massive. And the big issue is that before Duper, the coach or the director of the program used to get blamed for this, because if you told Howard, right, Howard, you cannot come to Friday anymore because you're not good enough, right? Howard is going to hate you, and he's not going to want to be part of your club, and doesn't want to be part of your programming anymore. So he's going to go down the road, and the coach down the road, because they want the business, is going to say like, actually, I think you're a 4-0, Howard. Come in. So it's just like this little bit of this toxic environment that we've created, which I understand, because honestly, it's a little bit of our fault at DUPR, because we used to tell a lot of the coaches and directors like, guys, blame us. You know, just say, go ahead and say, it's DUPR. I mean, it's just DUPR. Like, I mean, I just cannot let you play on the 4-0 because it's a
Yeah.
4-0 minimum. So if you want to play, blame DUPR. So what that has created, guys, which is a little bit of like, we've saved the coaches in a way, which I love, right? We've told the coaches, you're not the bad guy anymore. DUPR is the bad guy. But now, for people, this metric is causing so much problem. So that's when I see a lot of the things online. It's so painful, so hurtful for so many people, because they feel like we are ruining their pickable experience. And it's very difficult because, how do we balance this? How do we make sure that people are okay being the level that they are, right? That's the complex part
Yeah.
here. How do we make sure that people don't feel left out? They feel accepted. They don't feel like not being on the foro group is the end of the world. That's one of the main issues that I think we need to solve as a community.
I think it's really tough because people do want level play, right? Like most people, they're happy to play completely open play every once in a while, but most of the time they want sort of relatively even competition, which requires someone to do some leveling, whether it's the tournament, whether it's the club director, or whether it's DUPA by setting ratings. And I don't know if there's going to be a good solution for it because people might want to be in the higher group, but they also sometimes get upset if someone who they perceive as lower is coming into their group and they feel is not competitive. So I'm not quite sure what we would do about it.
Yeah, and the nature of pickable uh, allows people to compete every once in a while with people that have higher levels than them. So that gets very
Yeah.
confusing, right? Like sometimes the fluctuation of level in a sport with such a short court is big, right? Like I can sometimes be a 5-3, but sometimes I can only also be a 4-7, you know, like depending on the day. So sometimes people go, and I have this all the time. I have 3 5s that get on a court with a 4-0. They know they're playing with a 4-0, and they play the best game of their lives. They just are so into it. They're so extra motivated. So the fact that you once, or twice went with a 4-0, 11-9, 11-9 plays with people's minds a little bit. And they think like, hey, if I am this close to this person, I must be a 4-0 too. But at the end of the day, it's not how good you are on your best day, it's how good you are on your average day. And that's very complicated for people because people keep thinking of themselves as how they perform on their best day. So that's the psychological part, which I think is extremely complex because I've had that myself, guys. I've had days where I go on the court and I'm like, oh my God, everything, like every third shot drop is just coming in, and I haven't missed a ding, and I feel like I'm so good. And then I have days where I'm like, oh my God, I'm never gonna play pickable again. I'm the worst player ever. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate it, Tito. As I said, we appreciate your being willing to answer the questions. I do think the reset has people talking about playing Dupa matches in a way that hasn't happened for a while, and that seems very successful. Will you sort of give some results after this is over? Just kind of give some statistics for everyone of how many people have participated and what happened to everyone's ratings from this.
Yeah, yeah, well, of course, we tend to be overly transparent, I'm being told. So yes, yeah, guys, we as I said, and we this is V1. There is going to be evolutions to this. We're going to learn from this. And that's something that I also want the community to take from some of these things, right? Like we're not here for the next 2 months. We're here for the next whatever 50 years. So we want to make sure this is all going to get better process. We're going to learn more. We're going to learn from this reset. And I would like to people to jump on that board with us in to enjoy that boat with us, to kind of think about this in terms of like we're all working together to get this rating better each time, and I think that's important, and people give us that chance as well to allow us to try things and allow us to launch things. And now we launch, as I said, the career high. How can we use the career high? How can we use this? Because things are very black and white with DUPR, right? And that's how I feel. So I'm really trying to get people to allow us to be on the gray area together a little bit, play, make sure we're data driven, play more, lose the fear, give us a chance to educate them. So yeah, we're going to be transparent with the data that we get, and we'll be sharing the results. And again, we don't know if there is going to be a V2. Hopefully there is. Hopefully this is great and people love it and is creating more game and we can launch another one. But for now, we're going to go through this one. We're going to gather all of the data. We're going to see all of these different things, and then we're going to make decisions.
That's
Awesome,
fantastic.
Tito.
So,
You've got the hardest job in pickleball. I got to say, this is, I'm impressed.
It's fun. It's fun. Listen, so when I think that, guys, I also think like I get to work in the sport that I love every single day of my life. So I am privileged. Not that many people wake up every day and get to talk pickleball and discuss pickleball and talk to pickleball people. So it's I have to feel fortunate and not yeah. So yeah, it's a great thing.
Thank you. So for listeners, especially new listeners to our podcast, please listen or subscribe to us. If you have questions, please email us at thirdshotrants@gmail.com. If you want coaching to improve your DUPR, contact Gina at gtpicklecoach@gmail.com. And I'm a Carbon Paddle ambassador. My discount code is Carbon10, CRBNTEN. Tito, we really appreciate it. Do you have any last thoughts or words you want to leave us with?
No, yes. Keep loving the sport. Have fun out there. This is supposed to be fun, guys. This is why we do it. So don't take it too serious, and have fun out there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tito.
Thank you.